for it. But then even car dealers make the odd mistake or two. But unlike some Jensens, the bodywork is straight and refreshingly corrosion-free. The interior bears out the low mileage of 59,000 with original carpets and fresh magnolia hide. This comprehensive history file helps the value too. The Radio Times, on sale now, has some suggested values to choose from, and all the details of where to send your entry. We want to know the current realistic market values of these two cars, not what their owners think they're worth, but what they're likely to make at a classic car auction. And remember to watch next week when we'll have two more cars waiting for your bids.
For most people in Britain, this is the only time they think of rallying. The thrills and spills of the Lombard RAC held each November. In fact, there are events going on almost every weekend. The first round of the British Championship, the Vauxhall Sport Rally, started from Chester last Saturday, from a place more used to a different kind of horsepower, the racecourse. Defending his title was last year's British champion Colin McRae. Gwyndaf Evans from Mid-Wales, sick of being called the rallying school bus driver, mainly by me. Up-and-coming rally star Richard Burns and Britain's fast lady Louise Aitken-Walker MBE, soon to toddle off to Buckingham Palace to collect her gong. This year's championship has a new title. It's the Mobil One Top Gear British Rally Championship, and our name's there because we'll be bringing coverage of every round right up to the final one in October. It's an exciting time in the sport because it really looks as though Colin McRae could one day become Britain's first world champion. His fabulous drive in last year's RAC Rally was just a taste of things to come. And just as on that event, McRae was out to show he meant business as he powered the four-wheel drive Subaru over the first stage in Clockaenog Forest in North Wales. No one's more at home here than Gwyndaf Evans. Last-minute entry, he'd borrowed a Ford Cosworth and had only driven it for literally 10 minutes before the start. Louise Aitken-Walker was out for a day of learning in Ford's new green Cosworth, complete with catalytic converter. Richard Burns cut his teeth on the Peugeot Rally Championship. Now he's moving into the big time, driving this Subaru he was holding third place. Robbie Head of Lanark is another of the new breed of young drivers who are determined to get to the top in rallying. At this stage, he was fourth fastest. Trevor Smith and co-driver Roger Jones, yes, Smith and Jones, were finding the forest rather slippery this morning. What's your time there?
11:53. What did Colin do?
11:03.
Oh dear. Back to school.
Not long left school, the youngest driver on the rally was 20-year-old Julian Porter, helped by his friends and his father, here bringing up the rear. A position he'd get used to, as it was his job to drive the support car, trailing his son all day. And by the time Julian left his hotel, the leaders were well into Wales. Rallying always attracts young drivers, particularly this year with the new Lombard Junior Championship for under-27s in cars below 1600cc. The prize, £10,000 and free entry on the RAC Rally. Julian was charging along merrily, albeit 3 minutes slower over the first stage than McRae. Not bad, as he'd never rallied in Wales before and had the added pressure of our camera peering over his shoulder. Barla, the first major service area. And you could see the real difference between the professional crews and others. Colin McRae's Subaru is what's known as a Group A car, with many expensive modifications and massive service support. Louise is another driver with a huge entourage. This year she drives a Group N car. That means it's more like a standard showroom model. Julian's team couldn't find a parking spot for their van, but found one just in the nick of time as the car arrived. But theirs is a true amateur outfit used to struggling along. At the family petrol station in County Durham, each night the pump lights go out, but the workshop ones stay on, as family and friends get stuck into the hard work.
We usually come in about 7:30 at night, and we'll have a list of what needs doing, and we just go through the list and check it and double check it. If there's something needs replacing, we replace that. When we bought the Nova, I think I had £1,500 or something like that in the bank, which we've spent on wheels, tyres, and things like that. And every week we're not competing, I put £70 a week in the bank, so we just hope we'll be able to get along.
Julian started karting at the tender age of 4, before working up the ladder to single-seater cars. But he became disenchanted with circuit racing.
You're there all day for about a 10-minute race, and the cost for that 10-minute race is a really big price, where for a day's rallying, you can probably half the price for a full day's rallying, and you're moving around, and it seems to be a friendly atmosphere.
Friendly it may be, but up front there was plenty of aggression. Colin McRae, showing his class, by stage 4 had built up a lead of 49 seconds. His closest competitor, Gwyndaf Evans, was complaining of a mysterious loss of power. The battle was considerably closer in the Group N section, where there was another McRae, younger brother Alistair, upholding family honours. Irish champion Kenny McKinstry is a tarmac specialist, but can scatter the stones with the best of them. Robbie Head topped Group N on last year's Lombard RAC rally, and just 6 seconds slower here than Colin McRae. For the family porter, a quick check to see that the car was okay and out of stage 3. This is Dolgelly in mid-Wales and almost the centre of the Vauxhall Sport Rally. During the week, this is one of the busiest farmers' markets in Britain, but when there's a rally on, it's transformed into one of the biggest service areas you'll ever see in your life. It's where the mechanics, not the drivers, take the limelight. And they can only hope that the previous occupants of the market haven't left anything too unpleasant around. For Richard Burns' mechanics, trouble had been brewing since the stage before Dolgelly. They thought the problem was in the transmission, but despite a new gearbox being fitted in 20 minutes, the car ground to a halt on the next stage with, guess what, transmission problems, and he was out. These days, for the stars, luxury support vehicles turn out to feed and water them while mechanics crawl all over their cars. But it's mother and young sister Victoria who've been recruited to feed the troops and Julian in car 51.
There you are. Discovered the boot was open. Is it?
Are these stages rougher than you thought they'd be?
Well, I've been told they were reasonably smooth. They're not too bad, it's just some of the seats come loose.
And now you've got the dreaded Dovey to look forward to. What about that?
Well, I don't think I've been in there yet, so we'll just wait and see.
Got a fearsome reputation, you know.
Oh, is that where McRae went off last year or something? Well, we'll try not to do that.
The leaders were well on their way to Dovey by now, and a ferocious battle was going on between Louise Aitken-Walker and Finland's Mika Solberg in his Mitsubishi Galant, with Mika just 10 seconds behind Louise. But Julian was never to see the dreaded Dovey Forest, for on the next stage at Penmachno, he was to learn one of the classic lessons of rallying. But, like every good driver, he had all the excuses ready to hand.
We're right on the inside.